Welcome back everyone, it is officially launch day for the Radeon RX 6800 series. So this in my hand is the Radeon RX 6800. I'm going to set it here because I've dropped it 3 times already trying to film this, and this is the 6800 XT. This is a little bit bigger mamma jamma, but just a real quick recap on the parts since we've talked about these for the past, quite some time. No sense in spending 100 hours talking about exactly what they are, but they are both based on Navi 21. That is a 7nm RDNA 2 based graphics card. They do feature the new compute unit, so the newer RDNA 2 features, so better efficiency. They have ray accelerators, they have RT performance, so they can do ray tracing, which is really cool. First time hardware-based ray tracing in Radeon desktop. We'll talk about that a little bit towards the end. But before that, they both have 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 on a 256-bit bus, and those worried about that, don't be, because they feature what AMD is calling their infinity cache. So what that does is acts as a very large pool of cache, exactly like it sounds, for the GPU to help alleviate some of the bottlenecking of the bandwidth concerns that you may feel like you might have, because I never really saw that come into play in any of the tests that we run. So very good on that part for those worried about that. I would say maybe don't be, but the 6800 and 6800 XT are a little bit different in the sense that the 6800 has 60 compute units with 3804D stream processors at 1815 megahertz on the game clock. But just to get that out of the way, in the actual games, we experienced closer to around the 2100 megahertz mark, which was fantastic to see. Kudos on them for that one. It has 240 TMUs and 96 ROPS with a 250 watt total board power. And yeah, definitely we saw that across. Well, it did it. I mean, that's not a low ball. It was 250 watt card. Good job. Now the RX 6800 XT bumps things up a little bit. We've got 72 compute units for 4,608 stream processors, a game clock of 2015 megahertz, but quite honestly, we saw it sticking closer to the 2300 megahertz clock rate after extended gaming periods. So definitely get kudos on that one. And 320 TMUs with 128 ROPS at 300 watts on the total board power. And yeah, that's exactly what we've seen. But you're here for performance reviews or performance numbers. And you know what? If you jump to the timestamp down below, one of the most resounding questions that we had for comments, or we asked you guys in the last video where we took a look at the cards, what you wanted to see benchmarked, what resolution, what games, and there was a resounding desire for Ultrawide, and I'm telling you guys, that made my heart happy because I love ultrawide gaming, and that is one area that I wanted to see how this card did in, and we definitely tested it. So we did the testing on the same test bench as our full review, linked down in the pinned comment in the comment section. It'll also be in the description if you don't want to dig for the pinned comment. But we ran it on an X570, Asus X570 Tough Gaming Wi-Fi. So not a high-end board, not a low-end board. Good mid-range board that I think a lot of people out there have. We also have the Ryzen 5 5600X. We talked about that recently, stepping up to that because its gaming performance really did just trounce the 3900X. And, well, you can kind of see why we were worried about having the most performance possible. So 3600 megahertz kit of RAM, that's 2 channels, and they are dual rank DDR4 3600 CL17 HyperX Predator, and our storage is a T-Force Cardia T440 Gen 4 drive. Okay, that's all the specifications out of the way. What you really want to talk about, or what you really want to hear about, rather, is going to be the performance. Let's jump right into the games. Of course, Forza Horizon 4 right up at the top. Well, I think the numbers speak for themselves. Oh, editing Keith here. I forgot to mention one very important thing. You're going to see the 6800 series kind of in the middle of the charts, and it's simply to keep them in the center, and they're just going to stay in the same place throughout all the charts, so you don't have to look all around the screen for each game to figure out where they sit on the thing. So all of the cards sit in the same order. I kept the 6800 series right there together so that you could see them next to each other. Now, on with the benchmarks. That is some really solid performance. And before we get too far in here, if you're wondering why there's no SAM numbers or smart access memory, because the motherboard we were testing with technically did not officially support it, but we did test it. It is in the review. There's a whole page just for the SAM results. If you want to go see that, follow that link. You know how to get there. But you can see a 76% uplift for the 6800 XT over the 5700 and a 48% uplift for the 6800. So fantastic results there for Forza Horizon 4. Now jumping into Shadow of the Tomb Raider DX12 with the highest settings, boom, 6800 XT is right there again, doing really, really well, and the 6800 is not far behind it. Rainbow Six Siege is an insanely fast game. So these, I don't think you're really going to have a hard time picking between any of these if you're running Rainbow Six Siege on Vulkan at Ultra 3440 by 1440. Doom Eternal, well, there you go. The performances there did pretty good. It fell right between the 3070 and 3080. So good job there. Ultra Nightmare settings, 3440 by 1440. Watchdog Legions, very high. No ray tracing here. No ray tracing. This is just the game at a very high preset. And performance is rock solid. Very good. Right about where you would expect it to be. Moving things into Modern Warfare. And boom, right there. Right on their competition. Doing a very good job. Horizon Zero Dawn. Once again, doing very well, performing exactly as you would expect it, doing a really good job with the 1% percentiles, very good there. Nice to see those results. Borderlands 3, the game that these cards do quite excellently on. They present very strong averages, and I want to take a moment and just point out that one of the things for this one is because we kept seeing the AMD numbers always said best API, so we figured with this title we do the same thing. So the RTX cards are running in DX11. They do tend to perform better on DX11. However, you can see the 6800 series does a lot better on those low frame files. So the 1% percentiles look much, much better on the 6800 series. And last but not least, in these testings, we got Troy Total War Saga. And if you think the 6800 series is performing low here, I would like to tell you to go check out how the older cards did. This is actually for AMD an extremely good scenario. So overall, rasterized performance, 3440 by 1440. If you were looking for this card and you're an AMD fan, I don't think you're going to really be disappointed for that performance. Now, I kept mentioning ray tracing, rasterized performance, all that stuff. And I'm going to save a lot of that discussion for a separate video if you guys are interested in that. We're going to look specifically at ray tracing performance. But one of the things, and I'll throw it up on screen now so you can see Watchdog Legions running side by side on the 3080 and the 6800 XT. Now it's running no DLSS, very high settings, ray tracing enabled. And if you pay close attention, you'll notice there's a bit of a problem with the 6800 side. That'll be the right hand side of the screen, and it's not quite rendering properly, and that's a known bug in the current driver stack, so the press driver. I've asked Ubisoft for some clarification on what's going on, because we've seen something similar happen in the Boundary benchmark, which right now it's just a benchmark, it's not a full-blown game, so I can understand not holding that against them, from the consumer standpoint. But we are at a very big inflection point in the sense that between this card and the 3080, now, mind you, by the time you're watching this, these are probably sold out and you still can't get a 3080, but we're talking about a $50 price difference. And overall, the 6800 XT performs remarkably well. The 6800 definitely does a really good job, but there's more than just the rasterized performance to talk about these days. And these cards do have the RT cores, the RA cores. They have their ray accelerators, and they do not have a DLSS competitor just yet. They are working on the Fidelity FX Super Resolution, and that's said to be more of an open standard, so we don't know a whole lot yet, other than that they're working with developers and seeing where it goes. Now, I would have a hard time imagining that NVIDIA couldn't also take advantage of that once it goes mainstream. So if a developer uses Fidelity FX Super Resolution, would NVIDIA be able to use it too? I don't know. Will DLSS and Fidelity FX Super Resolution become an option in games in the future? It's possible. Again, still don't know. But I do think that there's a lot of discussion to be had around the ray tracing performance, and down in the lower price tier, so the $350, $400 tier on the last generation, I totally understood people's arguments that really not that big of a selling feature for them, because those cards had a hard time really pushing out strong performance with RT enabled. RT here, you're looking at 1440p on your best case. Wouldn't recommend turning on multiple effects just yet, so kind of pick one. Shadows do really well, so something to consider. I don't know, guys. Love to hear your comments on your thoughts on the 6800. Do you think the 3440 by 1440 performance was great? You liked it? Do you care about the ray tracing performance? I feel like you should at this point. We're talking about over $500 for a graphics card. It's kind of a feature. It's not going anywhere. It's only going to get bigger. So, love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. I do appreciate you being here. Hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed it and you want to see more. Don't forget, we ain't done yet. It's just the first video.